chatting now with the Oklahoman's Adam Kemp. He's working on a couple stories you can find in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman and shortly on Oklahoman.com. Some interesting stuff out of Tinker Air Force Base. But we'll start with a fellow named Jimmy Mitchell. You may have noticed him during Governor Stitt's press conferences with Mayor Holt as well. He is providing interpretive services.
He's very expressive, and really that is to convey to the deaf community here in Oklahoma just how urgent a situation is, or just how dire things are, or if the governor is, in the midst of telling a story about some important information, he uses his facial expressions to convey, oh, this is kind of a joke right now, or, oh, this is kind of, something that could be on their horizon. It is not the American Sign Language I am learning is not just hand signals. It's facial expressions. It's the way you kind of contort your face and look at things. So it's all communication to a community that is really desperate for information right now.
You mentioned that you're learning American Sign Language. Jimmy is fairly new to this too, right?
Well, he has been deaf his whole life, so he's known American Sign Language. But he is new to the interpreting thing.
Gotcha.
He's pretty new to it. He had dabbled in it for a few years here and there, but only for small groups or one-on-one kind of individual service. And it wasn't actually until about a week before the COVID-19 outbreak that he had taken a course that was about providing services in times of emergency, the things you need to do, the way you need to conduct yourself, how you need to translate specific phrases and words into everyday meaning for the ASL community. So really fortunate timing for him. 4 days after he finished his course, Governor Stitt is on the phone with him asking, hey, can you be here to translate our first press conference about the coronavirus outbreak?
That is fantastic. What have you learned about the logistics of how it works? I see a person on the front row also.
Yes, that is his partner. The way it works is he listens to Governor Stitt and translates it to Jimmy, and Jimmy then translates it to everyone else standing up. It's kind of a double process there. Nothing gets by the two of them really in a way. Jimmy's kind of the more frontward facing towards the camera, has the quicker signs, and can really deliver it in a way that is accessible for a community that is asking desperately for people to add captions to videos or have an interpreter there with them. It's been pointed out to me that the president in every one of his daily briefings still has yet to put an interpreter on stage with him or have captions with him. So this is something that's in nationwide demand.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to pull on that thread a little bit more of what are some of the needs that you're learning about?
Captions would be huge for people that could just sit there and turn on captions and read a video as well.
I'm guessing because YouTube does provide captions. It's
right.
Not the same. That tech
it's not
is
always the
100%.
same. No, and it's definitely a time-consuming thing for a lot of people to try and type out every line of. I know it's just from being a reporter having to transcribe interviews. It's usually the lengthiest process I go through, but in the end, it provides the highest level of accuracy as well as the correct meaning and information to. Right now, information is vital regarding the coronavirus and what you need to be doing to keep yourself safe.
You mentioned that you learned Jimmy has been deaf all of his life. What else do you know about Jimmy?
Well, I shouldn't say all of his life. He became deaf at the age of 5. Okay. He had an infection in the fluid around his brain that ended his hearing. So from the age of 5, he went through and learned sign language. His parents were in sign language, and they really communicated that way through his whole life. When he was 16, he moved to Oklahoma. He grew up in California and attended the Oklahoma School for the Deaf. And from there, found kind of a home and definitely a robust community. He played football and track and basketball at OSD, and now is an assistant coach on the football team down there still to this day. He works with the deaf community, providing both counseling and kind of language services to people to try and help them get jobs and get placed in programs and things like that. So he's really dedicated his entire life to this community.
Interesting. Good stuff. Looking forward to reading more about that. And of course, you can online at Oklahoman.com. And as I mentioned in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman, one other story you've been working on all day today was Tinker recalled some essential personnel, quite a few of them earlier today. What have you learned?
We learned that Tinker has recalled around 1,800 personnel to come back to base. It's actually closer to 1,900. I think it's 1,870 employees, civilian employees, to come back to base and get to working. And this is in kind of the mechanic field of things. They want people to be, making sure everything's up to date and ready in the case that there is some kind of military something, kind of an intervention of some kind. They want to have the military as prepared as possible. So despite there being 4 confirmed cases of coronavirus there on Tinker Air Force Base, and, they are essential personnel. They're considered part of the military, and so they are being brought in to get back to work in a way.
Yeah, my final question on that was, do we know, perhaps how the coronavirus has impacted the Air Force Base there?
Right. No, I think they are working, they've said they're working as much as they can to social distance as much as possible, as well as if anyone is sick, they are taken off the floor immediately. They go through pretty much all the same precautions that you've been hearing about: isolation and getting treatment for people if they do get sick themselves. I think this is just a matter of the Secretary of Defense even came out earlier this week and kind of said, we need to be prepared just in case one of our adversaries, in the midst of all our confusion right now, wants to make an attack or wants to do something nefarious. We need to be prepared. And so these workers are the ones that are here to keep Tinker Air Force Base prepared.
And Adam Kemp keeps us informed. We certainly appreciate that. I know you have a lot going on there, so thanks for taking the time to share the story about Jimmy Mitchell. I'm looking forward to reading more about that, which you can on Oklahoman.com and upcoming editions of the Oklahoman, as well as staying on top of some news there from Tinker Air Force Base. Adam, good to see you. Thanks for your time.
Nice seeing you. Thanks again.